In town, the Michelin Guide Singapore is back this year, awarding stars to a total of 49 restaurants. So congratulations to the new 3-star restaurant Zen and its executive chef Tristan Farmer. It joins Les Amis and Odette, who retained their 3 stars. Senior food correspondent Wong Ah Yoke has more on today's announcements.
Actually, I'm really happy that Zen got 3 stars because it's one of my favorite restaurants. I think it totally deserves the 3 stars. I've dined there a few times. I've enjoyed every time because for me, Zen is not just about the food, it's the whole experience because there's a lot of interaction between the chef, the servers, and the diners. So you never feel bored. It's a 4-hour meal, actually. I've even dined there alone for 4 hours, and I thought I'll be bored. I brought a book along, and I never even have to read my book because I was enjoying myself the whole time. So yes, I think it's great that Zen got his 3 stars, and congratulations to Chef Tristan Farmer, who is a great chef. So that was great. But talking about the other restaurants that either moved up or got a new star, I think they're all very well deserved too. The new 2-star restaurant is John by Kirk Westaway. It used to have 1 star, now it's 2 stars. And I also am a big fan of John because Kirk is a very creative chef. He actually modernizes British cooking and turned it into a fine dining experience. So that's great too. And among the new 1-star restaurants, actually, I really think they all deserve it. I mean, 28 Wilkie has really come out of nowhere. And I have enjoyed myself very much in my last 2 experiences there. Arts also has a new chef, Daniel Sperindio, who has also given it a really fine touch. Buzz Kitchen by Aito is actually not a new restaurant. It just moved to the Fullerton area, better location now, nice ambience, but great food still. But what I was really, really impressed is Summer, which only opened this year. It only opened in February. I mean, it's just 6 months ago, right? And the chef is 28 years old, but Louis Barker is great. He used to work at Bacchanalia, then it was changed into Vietnamese Maso restaurant, and now he has his own restaurant, and now it's wonderful that he's got a 1 star. So congratulations to all the chefs who have received stars this year. Really, really happy for them.
We'll get ready for Singapore's largest ever en-bloc sale. Owners of the 50-story International Plaza have launched the collective sale at a reserve price of $2.7 billion. That works out to a land rate of $2,448 per square foot per plot ratio. Well, the sale comes after more than 80% of the owners agreed in July to put the leasehold building on the market for the first time. Built in the 1970s, International Plaza comprises 209 residential apartments, 559 office units, 192 strata shops, and even a swimming pool. Marketing agent Edmund Tai describes the site as the last strategic corner plot with main road frontage at the gateway of the Tanjong Pagar precinct. Well, the tender will close at 3 p.m. on November the 30th. 11,000 and counting. That's how many people have signed an online petition calling on the National University of Singapore to reverse its decision to merge Yale-NUS College with its University Scholars Program. Hashtag no more top-down. The petition carries a statement from a group of NUS students from different faculties. It states that the uni's decisions to merge these faculties was lacking in transparency and consultation with both faculty and students, and shows a failure to care for the welfare of staff and students. Well, the petition also calls for the reversal of 2 other mergers forming the College of Design and Engineering and the College of Humanities and Sciences. I'm joined now by my colleagues, journalists Ang Qing and Ng Wei Kai, who have been covering these developments at NUS. So, Qing, to you first. You spoke with the students who drafted the petition. What are their main concerns?
So I think it's actually just more than just one student, but many students who actually came together to express their concerns about this process. So I think the key concern is epitomized in, I guess, the title of this petition, which is "No More Top-Down." And that was very, very much the central thrust of what they're trying to say, which is there was a lack of consultation for, I guess, all three mergers that they're talking about. And most recently is the closure, or rather the de facto closure of Yale and US, which a lot of them are unhappy about because there was no warning, there was no consultation. So this is what the students themselves are saying. And basically they were caught unaware on Friday morning and just told that basically their school will close in 2025. So I think for a lot of them, it's very much not getting a heads up, or even for the first year students, for signing up to something that you didn't basically sign up for. Which is the new college that will be coming soon, in the coming months. So I think there is definitely that sense of unhappiness, confusion, and frustration. And that really much gave rise to this petition, which also contains a lot of other concerns that the students themselves have about the merger, such as like employment with a degree that's completely new to them, or being part of a college that they have very little details on. So yeah, and from what I understand, this was actually a process of collaboration for over 200 students who came together to write on a Google Doc. So yeah, it's very much a process of collaboration that formed this petition that was uploaded on Monday. And I think it was just revised on Tuesday. And as of today, about 4 p.m., there are about more than 11,000 people who have signed this petition.
Right. So, Wei Kai, over to you. Yesterday, some 400 ex-students from Yale and US attended a town hall meeting with college leaders, including its president, Tan Tai-yong. Wei Kai, what was discussed and what was the mood after the town hall?
So, the mood sort of mirrors what Qing was talking about with the students who are doing the petition. There's a lot of confusion. A lot of people are very upset. And also, I think in particular for the town hall, there's this sense that of their concerns not really being heard by the people who are in power. Because although, as you mentioned, Yale and US President Tan Tai-yong was present, and as well as several other senior administration people from Yale and US, nobody from NUS itself, and especially, I suppose, NUS President Tan In-chai, these people who are seen as the ones who have made this decision to close the college, or as they're calling it, merge the college, were not present. And so alumni that I spoke to were telling me that they went seeking answers to their questions on the reasons for the merger, but they merged, without any of these answers.
Right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Wei Kai, as well as Qing. I've been speaking with the Straits Times' journalists Qing and Wei Kai. Visit straitstimes.com for more on this. Meanwhile, Workers' Party MP Jamus Lim announced on social media that he'll be posing questions on the planned merger between Yale-NUS College and the University Scholars Program in the upcoming Parliament sitting. He said he's hoping to gain more insight on the decision-making process behind the move. In other local news, the High Court has awarded Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong $210,000 in damages for 2 defamation suits he filed over an article published on the Online Citizen website, which had quoted a Facebook post by PM Lee's sister, Dr. Lee Wei-ling. She said their father, founding Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew, had been misled by PM Lee into believing the family house at 38 Oxley Road had been gazetted by the government. PM Lee's press secretary said, quote, "As usual, Prime Minister Lee intends to donate to charity the damages he has been awarded." There's a new coronavirus variant being monitored by the World Health Organization. Known as Mu and classified as a variant of interest, it was first detected in Colombia back in January. WHO said the variant has mutations that indicate a vaccine-resistant risk, stressing that further studies are needed. From today, you can once again visit Terminals 1 and 3 at Changi Airport, and the shops are ready to welcome back the crowds. Both terminals reopening with extra precautions in place after a 3.5-month closure following a COVID-19 outbreak at the airport. Many retail staff working there are excited to be back and hopeful that shoppers will return, especially on the weekends.
As of this morning, most of the customers coming in were our staff or members of the airport community. We haven't really seen many families yet, I think because it's not yet the school holiday. But we are expecting that the family crowd will come in from this Friday when the school holiday begins. In general, the morale is definitely a lot better today than when we first closed, because back then with the cluster that first happened, there was a lot of anxiety on staff safety, on health, on well-being. Yeah, so it's taken quite a bit to arrive here today.
And remember, enforcement kicks in today for patrons who don't return their own trays at hawker centres. At Serangoon Gardens Market and Food Centre, reminders were regularly announced in English, Mandarin, Malay and Tamil. NEA officers were also patrolling the market, reminding people to return their trays. First-time offenders will be given a written warning, while second-time offenders will face a $300 composition fine. Enforcement will apply to only hawker centres for now, with it starting at coffee shops and food courts in January. Protecting workers, giving anti-discrimination guidelines some teeth, and reinforcing transparency when it comes to workplace fairness. Now, these will be some upshots when the Tripartite Alliance for Fair and Progressive Employment Practices, or TAFEP, guidelines become law. Manpower Minister Tan See Leng discussed this on Money FM 89.3 this morning.
We know that Singapore will not tolerate discrimination.
Yes.
We always have that fear of the law. But now it seems that we have to really highlight it and put these guidelines into place because of how COVID has brought up, let's call it a broad frustration among some people.
Well, I'm not necessarily sort of aligned to that.
Okay.
Ostensibly, we know that there are frustration, and there are angst and there are anxieties.
Sure.
It may not just be attributed to COVID per se, because I think you have heard also anecdotally, even before pre-COVID, that there's instances and so on where people felt that they have been discriminated against.
Sure.
But if you look at over the span of the last couple of decades, the entire TAFEP, together with the Fair Consideration Framework, and also the TADEM, which is the Tripartite Alliance for Dispute Management, have all worked pretty well. If you look at some statistics, for instance, our women in the workforce,
Yes.
The elderly in the workforce, I mean, these are two big groups that we are trying to make sure that they are not discriminated against. When you stack it up against the other OECD companies, actually we stacked up pretty well, right? So obviously, it's not that this is like a festering problem that requires a very, very heavy hand or some form of a very urgent action. But as we pivot, as we have pulled back as a result of this pandemic, and as we now want to go out again, as we encourage build back better, as we encourage industry transformation, as we encourage innovation and so on, we also want to make sure that we reinforce and we protect our Singaporean core. So by transferring the guidelines into legislation itself, it would provide enforcement powers, it would provide the entire structure more teeth for them to take and nudge egregious firms and stop them from continuing their some of these activities that they've done. So it is not meant to be a dampener. In fact, if anything at all, it reinforces the integrity, the credibility, as well as the transparent and the arm's length nature of what this entire workplace fairness is going to be moving forward. So we don't envisage that businesses will change, because the vast majority of the companies that have invested here or that have set up here do not engage in this kind of discriminatory practices. If anything at all, it serves to put a very solid mark generally across the world that this is a country that we are open, we are transparent, we are fair.
Well, those are our top stories for today. For more news and videos, visit straitstimes.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the red button below. I'm Olivia Quay. See you tomorrow on The Big Story.